Hey everybody, what is going on? XX here with another Master Duel video for you guys. So today we are going to be covering my first iteration of our branded Despia deck profile. So those of you who watched the last video, which I believe should have been yesterday's, given the timing that these are coming out, that was my Let's Talk About branded Despia. At the very end of that video, I shared what was kind of like my rough draft of what I thought my initial build of this deck was going to be going into Master Duel. The build that we're seeing here is actually very similar to what I had initially drafted up. The main difference being that I went ahead and added the Harpie's Feather Duster here. So, yeah, this is, like I said, my take here on branded Despia. The list that I have here that I've built is kind of like aggregated from just a lot of the early OCG lists I was seeing on Road of the King, right? During around the time that the OCG had about the same card pool that Master Duel does right now. Now, obviously, the metagame in Master Duel is very different from that OCG metagame, not just in terms of what's being played, but mostly in terms of the ban list, which like I said, in turn, by their effects, what is being played. So, yeah, so we're not playing, you know, like Triple Pot of Prosperity or Vandy's Emptiness like a lot of those builds were doing in the OCG, because obviously we don't have access to 3 Prosperity or any amount of Vandy's Emptiness here in Master Duel. Yeah, I was initially playing like a random one of Pot of Prosperity, but like I said, I ultimately decided to throw in the Harpie's Feather Duster instead. It's not a card that was seeing main deck play, kind of like Nibiru, right? It wasn't seeing main deck play in those OCG builds, it was seeing more side deck play, but obviously this build is geared towards a best of one format, the ranked ladder format here of Master Duel. So we are including some options like that are, again, not necessarily things we would see main decked in like those OCG builds, but that's part of the, I guess, translating the build over here to Master Duel. So yeah, branded Despia here. As far as the ratios for all the cards go, I do like them quite a bit. Fallen of Albaz, I've kind of considered going down to 1 copy as opposed to playing 2, because you only really need the 1 copy, right? Because, you know, it's going to get recycled back into your deck with your Lubellion. The second Fallen of Albaz is mainly just to be safe, right? Just in case our initial copy gets like banished or something. It's not that it's like impossible. I'm pretty sure there's a way you could probably recur it from banish in this deck somehow, because I'm just trying to think of what that would be. But no, it's definitely possible, but it's just, you know, better safe than sorry, I think. So I'm sticking with 2 Fallen of Albaz for now. This could go down to 1 if I feel like the second copy is becoming unnecessary, but that's kind of what I'm doing just with this initial build here. Yeah, as far as like Despian Tragedy goes, I think we only need the 1 copy. I see some builds playing 2. I'm also playing Despian Comedy. Again, we kind of touched on this in the last video when we talked about branded Despia as a whole, but Despian Comedy is nice tech, not only obviously for its like in-hand effect, but also for the graveyard quick effect. Basically, if your Lubellion is getting targeted by Veiler or Imperm, then you can use Despian Comedy to tribute it, the Lubellion, right, and then summon the Comedy. Then the Veiler / Imperm will fizzle because Lubellion is no longer on the field. Lubellion's effect will not only still resolve, but because you can shuffle materials back from the graveyard, or you're banished. So yeah, that's the way you could recur Fallen of Albaz, but because you could recur the materials from your graveyard, you can still recur that same Lubellion, even though you just tributed it for the Despian Comedy here. So I really like the Despian Comedy just as general attack against a lot of the Veilers and Imperms, which we're going to be seeing a lot of in the format here. We're playing 2 Imperm and 2 Veiler here, not only because we want Veilers to counter with Crossout Desginator, but also because we're going to be drawing cards during our opponent's turn with Guardian Chimera. That's a lot of the reason why we want Veilers in here and not just 3 Imperms, is because we want to be able to draw into those Veilers. And obviously, if we're going to have Guardian Chimera and Mirrorjade on the field, then obviously we can't use Imperm. So it is important to have Veilers here. Veiler also being a light monster obviously makes it potential fusion material in certain niche situations as well. Yeah, so then of course we're also playing the Adventure Engine here. The Adventure Engine, you do have to be a little bit mindful in this deck of how you're using it, because it's pretty easy for it to conflict with Aluber. There are times where you will need to normal summon Aluber, and even if you also have the Adventure Engine in your hand, you might just have to forego doing it on your turn 1 just to normal summon Aluber and get your actual main plays going. So in that regard, you know, I've talked a lot about this, right? About how engines like Adventure rather you know, they may be fairly universally used, but their impact across decks across the board is not universal. It is very dependent on the specific deck. And this is actually a deck where the Adventure Engine has a little bit less impact than it does in some other decks. Like, you know, we take a look at like Adventure Phantom Knights, right, where, you know, the Adventure Engine is not only you know, meshes with the combos in that it doesn't conflict with them, but it's also like integrated into the combos, is very much a part of them. Branded Despia is definitely not that case, where, you know, as I just mentioned, like sometimes you have to like forego the Adventure Engine. It's pretty rare, to be fair, but sometimes you do have to forego the Adventure Engine in order to do your combo. Again, if you open like Aluber and no other way to get to Branded Fusion, right? Except by normal summoning the Aluber there. Let's see here. As far as the other ratios go, I feel like the rest is pretty, like, you know, basic / self-explanatory. Obviously, we're playing 3 Branded Fusion. We're playing 3 Branded Opening to get to our Alubers, to get to our Branded Fusion. 2 Branded in red. I don't think 3 is necessary. I think 2 is fine. I say never, you know, like I've played the deck for so long. I have played quite a few games so far, and it's been very, very fun. But yeah, I've yet to feel like I need a 3rd Branded in red there. A lot of people were saying in my pack opening video that, what is it? It's something lost. Is it just Branded Lost? It is just Branded Lost. A lot of people were saying that this card is actually really, really good in this deck. I definitely don't doubt that it's bad. I know that sound like I was about to be like, oh, I don't think it's good. Just the tone, I guess, I was using there. But no, I definitely don't think this card is bad, like, at all. It'd just be a matter of me finding space for it. I could drop like something like maybe the Harpie's Feather Duster, or like, honestly, maybe even the Foolish Burial. Nah, I mean, it's still nice to have to set up for the Adventure Engine, even if you don't use it. Again, even if there are scenarios, rather, in this deck where you may not need it. Maybe I drop, like, the second Fallen of Albaz for it. I still do like 2 in Fallen of Albaz, though. Oh, the other kind of tech little option here that I want to talk about is Ghost Belle, right? Ghost Belle and Haunted Mansion, obviously, you know, already being a pretty solid tech choice. Or like, you know, disruption tool, going to be even more powerful moving forward, mainly for hitting stuff like Branded in red. So we were not only playing a copy of that, obviously, to hit all the things like, you know, Ghost Belle can hit, but, you know, even though we only have 1 Crossout Desginator, we still want to be playing some of the main tools we want to be targeting with it, and one of those is going to be Ghost Belle, Cross Belle. I really said Cross Belle. Ghost Belle is one of the things we're going to want to hit with Crossout, is what I meant to say. So we just want to include a copy there, and again, of course, like I said, it's also like actually good tech. That said, it is something that could be dropped for Branded Lost if I really find that adding it is that necessary. So again, it seems like a very good card. I just I struggle to kind of fit it in with the 40 that I have right now. As far as the extra deck goes, again, I think what we're doing here is pretty standard. There's nothing too, like, out there. We're only playing 1 Guardian Chimera. I've seen a lot of builds playing 2. I'm not opposed to crafting and playing a second Guardian Chimera. The reason I'm not right now is because I'm going to make room for the Relinquished Anima. Relinquished Anima can be used in conjunction with Despian Tragedy if you open that, and nothing else. It's a way to set up a... basically, if I recall correctly, you can set up a Guardian Chimera, like at the very least, like worst case scenario, if you open Despian Tragedy and nothing else, you can set up a Masquerade Dragon. But if you have like another monster to use as fusion material, you can also then even set up like a Guardian Chimera. So it's kind of like, you know, having Almirage and Link. Well, we have Link Spider actually, but it's kind of like having Almirage in a lot of decks where you know, having it can in some scenarios result in 1 card plays that would otherwise like be dead hands. And that's, again, what Relinquished Anima is basically doing here. We're also playing Vert Anaconda, even though we're not playing DPE, because obviously Branded Fusion is a really, really, really good card. And we want to make sure that we're always, you know, playing this on turn 1 whenever possible. One tip in general, I guess, for the deck is, like, yeah, like I said, you want to Branded Fusion, like, obviously, your first turn, every turn, or every time if possible. Just make sure you're being mindful to protect the Branded Fusion. It's like why we're going out of our way to play the Adventure Engine, even though it's not always usable, right? Is because you know, being able to protect the Branded Fusion from Ash Blossom is just so vitally important. Okay, so I think I've talked about, like, between this and obviously, again, the last video I put out, I think I've talked about pretty much everything I want to talk about as far as, like, the basics of Branded Despia goes. So now let's go ahead and break the list down card by card, just so we all know what's all in the deck, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at some gameplay here. So we are playing 2 Effect Veiler, 1 Despian Comedy, 1 Despian Tragedy, 3 Maxx, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 1 Ghost Belle and Haunted Mansion, 2 Water Enchantress of the Temple, 2 Fallen of Albaz, 3 Aluber, the Jester of Despia, 1 Wandering Gryphon Rider, 1 Ad Libitum of Despia, 1 Nibiru, the Primal Being, 1 Harpie's Feather Duster, 1 Foolish Burial, 2 Rite of Aramesir, 3 Branded Fusion, 1 Dracoback, the Rideable Dragon, 1 Fateful Adventure, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Crossout Desginator, 3 Branded Opening, 2 Branded in Red, 2 Infinite Impermanence, and that's going to round out the main deck here. Extra deck will contain 1 Predaplant Dragostepelia, 1 Titanklad the Ash Dragon, 2 Albion the Branded Dragon, 1 Despian Quaretits, 2 Masquerade the Blazing Dragon, 2 Mirrorjade the Iceblade Dragon, 2 Lubellion the Searing Dragon, 1 Guardian Chimera, 1 Lake Spider, 1 Relinquished Anima, and then finally 1 Predaplant Vert Anaconda. Alright, yep, that is going to cover the build. Now let's go ahead and get into some games. Alright, so this first game is going to be against good old Adventure Pile. This is going to be a bit of a briefer game, but it's going to showcase kind of just some of what the deck is capable of before we go into some more like involved games or games that do like more out there lines. So I'm looking at this opening hand, right, and I'm immediately seeing like we have good stuff here going. We obviously open Branded Fusion. Anytime you open Branded Fusion or it means to get Branded Fusion is pretty good, especially if it's in conjunction with the Adventure line like so. And then of course having access to a swath of hand traps is pretty good, although to be fair, we do need to discard at least one of these cards for Lubellion. It's probably going to end up being Nibiru because obviously if we're going to establish a board in the Mirrorjade and the Guardian Chimera, we don't want to end up Nibiruing our own board there. So I think I'm going to lead with the Water Enchantress here just to see if I can bait out an Ash Blossom to you know, obviously, so this Branded Fusion doesn't get hit by it, but if that doesn't get baited, or if that doesn't bait out the Ash, then we'll just go ahead and set up the Wandering Gryphon Rider here. Now, normal summoning this Effect Veiler in order to get the Fateful Adventure might look really weird here. You might even think like, well, wouldn't you even want to just add the Gryphon Rider and discard the Veiler at that rate? No, I actually do want to normal summon the Veiler, not just to add the Dracoback with the Fateful Adventure, but later in the turn, I'm going to need to banish a monster with Mirrorjade in order to set up the Branded in Red, and I'm not going to want to banish my Adventure Token or my Wandering Gryphon Rider, obviously, so this Veiler that we just normal summoned is actually going to be the thing that we're going to banish later. So there is like multiple reasons why I normal summon this Veiler. It looks really weird, but it is definitely intentional. It's like very, it's not just like what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Why can't I do words right now? It's not just a compromise. That's the word I'm looking for. It's not just a compromise play. It is actually going to be like an involved part of our plays here. So yeah, they tried to throw it a C. We're just going to throw out the Ash here. I could have maybe even like, I don't know. Well, I guess I was going to say considered not chaining to the Ash here, but now we have enough special summons that I'm going to need to... I don't want to give my opponent that many draws here. I'll gladly give up the Ash. There are some scenarios where like I would consider not ashing a Maxx if I wanted to then use the Ash on my opponent's turn, if I thought that was going to be more valuable, but no, in this scenario I definitely did not think that was the case. So yeah, so again, that was kind of a partial game here, but we already started to see, again, for those of you who watched the last video I did about Let's Talk About Branded Despia, where I showed some of those kind of example combo lines, you know, we can see, okay, or again, those of you who are just familiar with Branded Despia in general, you know, we're seeing the Lubellion effect triggering, and of course that's going to summon the Mirrorjade, and then like I mentioned earlier, the reason I summoned the Veiler is so I could then banish it with the Mirrorjade, setting the Albion. That would allow during the end phase for Albion to then set the Branded in Red face down, and then of course during my opponent's turn, when they make pretty much any amount of plays committing that I want to, you know, stop, I'll flip up the Branded in Red, fuse for Guardian Chimera, destroy whatever card I want to destroy, draw a couple of cards, and then summon the Mirrorjade, being able to banish yet another card, just disruption on top of disruption. And then of course we also had the adventure set up on top of it. So yeah, again, just a briefer game, but I wanted to show kind of a kind of standard, well, that was a very standard setup, but a setup with the adventure engine, and also kind of show how utilizing like even a monster like Effect Veiler as it can be used as part of the combo to just advance your plays there, whether it's just like a disruption tool just sitting in your hand. So all right, let's go and take a look at another game here. Okay, so this time we're going to be playing against Adventure Tenyi, as opposed to just an Adventure Pile deck, although Adventure Tenyi is kind of like the what's what I'm looking for? Not like the more advanced, I guess kind of the more advanced version of the adventure pile. The more themed version of the adventure pile, if you will. Okay, so look at this hand here. I've got an Aluber and a branded fusion, so I'd still get a normal summon the Aluber just to try to bait like maybe Veil or Imperm Ash, something like that. You know, it's definitely something that's happened before. Like I've been able to summon the Aluber and then you know, opponent ashes it. If you're playing against this deck, I would definitely wait to ash to branded fusion. Because again, you know, like I just explained here, the Aluber can very easily be bait from the opponent. Since they let it resolve, I decided to just add the branded in red, just to kind of have it. I don't know, better have it not needed than need not have it, right? So the opponent activates a Maxx here, and I'm actually going to let this resolve. I talked about this a little bit in the last game, where sometimes I'll consider letting a Maxx resolve. I guess at that time I was specifically talking about Ash Blossom, wanting to save the Ash Blossom for the opponent's next turn. Here, I'm actually wanting to, you know, obviously use a Maxx during my opponent's next turn. I don't have any problems discarding the extra one here with the Lubellion, but I do still want to have the Maxx available for my opponent's next turn. And I'm only going to be giving them one extra card here, so I think that's worth it in this scenario. I think it's fine to hold the call by to let the Maxx resolve in order to have access to it next turn. And not only do we have access to our Maxx next turn, we also have access to the called by next turn, which might seem minor, but call by, like, I don't know, call by is one of those cards that, like, I notice a lot of people just kind of tend to think of it as like, oh, this is an anti-hand trap card, but call by is very much a very valid disruption tool in its own right. There are a lot of decks, and I would even dare say like the majority of decks use at least some kind of graveyard-based effect, so being able to stop and negate that is very, very powerful. So as the opponent goes to play their Fateful Adventure here, I'm now doing the follow-up play that, you know, branded Despia is kind of, I guess, kind of known for, right? Where I'm using the Guardian Chimera, I'm going to pop this Fateful Adventure, I'm going to draw 2 cards, I'm going to use the Ad Libitum to bring back the Mirrorjade, which will then be able to banish a card because it's a quote-unquote new copy that is now on the board. And then of course we get to search a Aluber for the follow-up play with the Despian Tragedy as well. Chain blocking, as always as ever, is very important in this deck. That's why we threw the Despian Tragedy at the end there, because definitely those, the effect of, among those rather, that we care the least about resolving. And definitely don't want to make, or definitely want to make sure we don't get like gammaed, or in the case of Guardian Chimera, make sure that doesn't get ashed or something like that. So definitely want to throw that at the beginning of the chain link there. Alright, so here it looks like the opponent is trying to make plays under the Maxx. I did end up banishing, what was it there? Yeah, I activated the effect to banish the Wandering Gryphon Rider. Main reason I did that was because I didn't want my opponent to go into like the Baron with the Red Rose, right? Because then they would have been able to set up the Hulk play anyway, and they would have had the Baron up. So, and if I, you know, popped the Baron or the Red Rose, then they would have had access to the Adhara plus the Wandering Gryphon Rider, which would have still given them access to Hulk or a level 8 Synchro if they wanted to. So I guess in the nature of kind of narrowing down their plays as much as possible, I went ahead and banished the Wandering Gryphon Rider there. Of course, they are still going to go into Hulk for the Jet Synchron. I'm fine letting this resolve so far, right, because it's going to, you know, enable more draws for me. This Auroradon, you know, I'm definitely going to Veiler, though, for sure. And if they decide to use a Jet Synchron effect, I can just use the call by. So I'm not particularly worried about that getting set up in the graveyard either. Here, I guess the opponent, I guess, makes a frustrated attack into my Guardian Chimera as they then proceed to pass. So, yeah, that's a pretty standard example of like a standard kind of turn 1 for this deck looks like. Setting up the Mirrorjade with the Branded Red during the end phase, and then using the Guardian Chimera as a follow-up play to disrupt, and then also set up the Mirrorjade, which can then further disrupt. And then, of course, the Guardian Chimera also drawing us a whole bunch of cards to get us more hand traps, i.e. more disruption, for the opponent's next turn there. So at this point, we can just turn everything to attack mode and smack our opponent with all our monsters. We actually didn't even need the Guardian Chimera for damage here, but still had it available all the same. So, alright, there is that game. Let us now go ahead and take a look at the next one. So this game here is going to be against the Mirror Match, like one of, I suspect, very many to come against the Mirror Match. I noticed my opponent here is opting for a package where they play El Shaddoll Winda, a small little Shaddoll package there, so that's definitely something to consider. One of quite a few tech options I imagine would be available for this deck. well, not just that I imagine will be available, that I know are available. So anyway, yeah, looking at our hand here, I mean, look at this. It's dope. It's stellar. We've got the adventure engine. We've got the branded fusion. So, I mean, we're good to go. We're definitely just good to go here. Now, you might be wondering, like, don't you still need an extra monster to banish for the Mirrorjade if you want to set up your initial plays here? Well, yeah, this Water Enchantress that I just added is going to be the other monster that I set up. Because obviously I opened the Wandering Gryphon Rider, I didn't need to search it, so I can just search this Water Enchantress up here. I'll make sure the Lubellion resolves first before committing the Water Enchantress to the board, but and then yeah, we'll discard the Imperm here because I'd rather keep the call by in case I still need it for this turn, and then also just like, I mean, obviously Imperm is like the slightly better disruption tool. If I had to say one is better than the other, but again, call by we might end up needing this turn. You don't know yet. So yeah, here we'll special the Enchantress and then and then banish it, set in the call by, and then we'll use the Albion to set up the branded in red as well. So again, we're seeing a pretty, common recurring theme here of setting up our turn 1, right? Where we're setting up the Mirrorjade and then using its effect on our turn to banish one of our own monsters, sending the Albions, so that way we can set up the branded in red. You might, of course, be wondering, like, well, why wouldn't you just save the banish effect for your opponent's turn then? That is to, of course, once again, set up the Guardian Chimera on the opponent's turn, so that way we can do this, and then also still have Mirrorjade. I mean, to be fair, if you wanted to, you could just save the Branded in red, or you could just not go for the Branded in red and just use the Mirrorjade during the opponent's turn instead, but again, there's kind of no reason not to. Again, the Guardian Chimera being a free extra disruption, and then also a couple of draws on top of that. Very, very powerful effect. Okay, so here they've got a branded opening. I'm going to let this resolve and let them get their Aluber. I'll also let that search go through. I basically just want to, at this point, was thinking I'll just negate the branded fusion, right? Because they can only activate one branded fusion per turn anyway. So if I'm going to hit one card with the Gryphon Rider to stop their plays, it's going to be that one, right? Again, like I was touching on earlier, Aluber can be kind of used, and to an extent branded opening as well, can kind of be used as bait to kind of bait out disruption for the branded fusion. So again, with the Gryphon Rider, if I'm going to disrupt their plays, I want to do so against the actual branded fusion itself. To my surprise, they actually ended up searching the theater of the branded here instead. That's actually totally okay with me, because basically I'm going to chain to this card's activation the branded red, so that way on the resolution I can use the Guardian Chimera to pop the theater. I always have to say it like that. Yeah, I can use this branded red to summon the Guardian Chimera, and then upon the resolution of the chain link, before my opponent has a chance to activate the theater's effect, we can pop it with the Guardian Chimera, and then of course also draw 2 cards and get the search from the tragedy as well. We'll still have the Mirrorjade up, and we'll still have the Gryphon Rider negate up as well. So definitely an ideal scenario for us to be in, and the opponent realizes this and then concedes. So yeah, just another example of how, like, again, this is very standard, very easy to do, honestly, turn 1 setup with this deck here. Again, all you really need is branded fusion plus any monster to banish, and plus a card to discard, but it's not a very difficult setup whatsoever, especially given that if you open Aluber, you have your monster to banish and your branded fusion right there. So alright, we've got one more game to take a look at. Let's go ahead and jump straight into it. Alright, so this last duel here is going to be against a 60 card Adamantipator, which, to be fair, I think is most Adamanticators nowadays. It's kind of one of the reasons I haven't gone back to it yet, is because, like, I don't want to craft a set of grasses just for one deck. I mean, I know that would let me play any number of 60 card decks, but still don't want to craft it for just the one deck. Maybe some point in the future. By the way, what a disgusting hand. Like, what a disgusting going second hand. Or you're not just the luckiest player in the world. Like, oh my god. So the opponent summons Adamantipator's Secret. I'm actually going to throw out the Ash here. You might be thinking, like, why did you throw out the Veiler? Why did you Ash there? It's because my opponent specifically normal summoned Secret and then immediately activated it, is the reason why I did that. Because I don't know, I've played Adamantipator enough to know that, like, most of the time when that happens, it's because that's really the only play you can do, right? Just normal summoning something like Seeker and then immediately activating. So if I can just halt my opponent's plays here altogether, guaranteed with the Ash, I'd rather do that than chain Maxx and kind of just wait for them to stop. Plus, you know, I can always play Maxx later if they have more gas, which they do have, as you can see. They do reveal the Destrudo here. And yeah, I'll throw out the Maxx in response to that. Now, they are going to have the Called By, if I recall correctly, or no, the Ash. Okay, either way, they are going to be able to stop the Maxx, so that's a little bit annoying, but you know, obviously it is what it is. We're gonna have to deal with it. We do still have the Ghost Belle in hand, so there is potential to maybe stop more of their plays, but we're just gonna have to see at this point. So yeah, from here obviously they're going to be moving into the Halki Fibrax, and then that's gonna pull the O-Lion from the deck. And it's been a while since I've done like Adamantium plays myself, so yeah, I don't know how standard it is to go into Union Carrier from here. But maybe my opponent just didn't have any other option given what was in their hand. I think they're, yeah, going for the Link Spider. Oh, that's right. Of course, they're setting up the, well, I thought they were setting up the Block Dragon. Oh, no, they are setting up the, no, I thought they were setting up the Block Dragon here, but it ended up being the Xeno Guitar. That's right. As if they didn't go into Secure Gardena using the Link Spider there. Okay, because they already had the Block Dragon in hand. That would explain it. So, here with the Revival Golem, I will go ahead and hit it with the Ghost Belle. I don't know that this necessarily, well, I'm trying to think, like, what would my opponent have been able to go into? Because they do end up just passing, as you can see at this point, after I use the Ghost Belle to hit that Revival Golem there. So I'm trying to think, if they had summoned the Revival Golem, they could have, I guess I'm trying to figure out what they could have linked into with the Revival Golem that they weren't able to link into. Now, I guess a Link 3 as opposed to a Link 2, because they can't use the Union Carrier as material, so they can't go into, like, Appaloosa, but this still could have gone to, like, Nightmare Unicorn, even though I don't have anything to, like, bounce or anything, they still would have gotten the trigger for Block Dragon's effect. So maybe that really was the case, like, just happening to Ghost Belle the Revival Golem, like, was able to keep them from getting the Block Dragon off the board. I guess I don't know, but we'll take it. We'll definitely take it either way, so yeah, so here I'm just going to go ahead and flop down the Branded Fusion. Basically, as long as this resolves, I'm not really too concerned about, you know, my opponent having a decent amount of stuff on board. And sure enough, it does in fact resolve. Well, that resolves. We still have to make sure the Lubellion resolves here, and that my opponent's face down isn't like an Imperm or something, which it does actually end up being. So, go figure. It's actually definitely not the end of the world or anything, though, because you know, if we take a look at this here, we see we still have our normal summon, and we're not committed to an adventure line, so I can just search the Aluber with the Despian Tragedy here, and then summon that, and then I'll search up the Branded in red, and we can just use that to go into the Mirrorjade. It's not a big deal. Excuse me. Yeah, so I'll add back of the Fallen of Albaz here, of course, so that way we can go into the Mirrorjade, and then, yeah, we'll just go straight into that, so another cool thing about this deck is that, you know, it can play through Disruption relatively easily. Sometimes, not every single time, but enough of the time. So, definitely going to want to banish the Block Dragon there. I'll battle with the Aluber against the Secure Gardena first, so that way it prevents only 800 damage. Now we can still get or not 3,000 quite, but a lot of damage, suffice it to say, 2,000, that number. And against the Union Carrier with the Mirrorjade. So now the opponent's in top deck mode. You know, they don't have a whole lot going on in the graveyard as far as stuff they can pull from, and then, yeah, they just end up conceding at that point. So, yeah, again, just, like, wanted to show, one, how, like, Ghost Belle kind of really came in clutch there on the Revival Golem. Like, again, I don't know exactly what I prevented my opponent from doing, but I feel like that had to have prevented them from leaking away the Block Dragon, and then using that to search up more stuff, and then from there, you know, we were able to play through Disruption, some of the Mirrorjade anyway, and then throw down enough board presence for lethal there. So, all right, that's going to do it for the games here. Let's go ahead and move now to the outro. Okay, everybody, that is going to do it for this video. So thank you for watching all the way to the very end. I greatly appreciate that. I'm also thankful to those of you who are commenting and subscribing. Comments, definitely looking for your help here with the build. Those of you who play the TCG and OCG and or are just generally more familiar with Branded Despia, definitely wondering what you're thinking of, not just this build, but what Master Duel kind of based builds are going to look like in general. You know, if there's anything that you feel, should be in the build, that is not. Definitely, again, feel free to let me know, because I'm still relatively new to this deck myself. Well, I say relatively new. I am just new to this deck, actually playing it. Been having a lot of fun with it right off the bat, though. This is definitely a deck that I foresee myself playing a lot of in the future, moving forward, because like I said, I had a blast playing it, and I had a blast playing it even further, which we will definitely in the very, very near future, next couple of days, be seeing even more gameplay with this deck. So definitely stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. Without further ado, this is XLex. I'm signing out, and hope you guys have a fantastic day.